Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Law of Attraction Framework. Can everybody see me? Everybody see the presentation here, and can everybody hear my voice all right? Is there any issues there? I'd like to check before we get going, make sure everybody can hear properly. All righty, it's looking pretty good. All right, we are expecting kind of a full house here, so I apologize if anybody had trouble getting in. Hopefully everybody's in and getting seated. I see lots of people still joining here, so we'll take probably 30 seconds here before I really get into it to allow a few of the late people to get in and join here. While we're sitting here, a couple questions. Can everybody see the Law of Attraction Framework slide that's up right now? No image. Hang on just a second here and we can get that fixed. Works good to let a couple more people join here while I get that resolved real fast. All right. Looks good. All right, you're just going to be seeing a picture right now. The unfortunate part is the camera didn't quite work today, so there's not going to be live video of me, and unfortunately, you're going to miss seeing my beautiful face. Actually, that might be a treat that you're not, so we'll consider that an upgrade to the presentation right now. All right, let's go ahead and get going here. This is a training on Law of Attraction Framework. That's what I call the elements necessary for you to achieve success using the Law of Attraction. As we go through this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and how I came to be where I am with Law of Attraction. And it's, I believe, quite a compelling story. It definitely changed my life. And I'm excited because sharing that story is actually a very personal thing with me. And I do love the opportunity to sit and talk with people because, generally speaking, when I tell my story, what happens after that is I begin hearing everybody else's stories. And I love that more than anything. When I started down this journey, creating this program, it was to share what I had learned. And there is a side effect to what happened with that I didn't expect. And that was hearing from all of the students that went through this program, what happened in their lives has completely and totally changed my life. And the feedback that we're getting has undeniably changed every way that I see the world. And so I've learned more from the students as I've gone through this experience over the last 7 or 8 years that I can't even describe to you the impact that it's had. And so part of what you're going to hear today is what I learned and how I got to where I am. And secondly, all the lessons that I've learned over the years combined into a presentation to help you get the most out of Law of Attraction. Now, like with anything, this is an opportunity for people to interact here. There is a chat window if you want to look around at your options there, if you can't see it, that you can send messages to me. I am reviewing those as we go through this. Obviously, running this and presenting, it makes it difficult to respond directly. But if you do leave questions in there and I'm not able to answer them during the presentation, I am going to be spending the next few days going through every single one of those questions and responding to every single one that I can. So if you have the valid email in here, if not, you may want to leave that with me. And I believe that all the messages that you send are private, so you're not sending it to everybody. So if you want to send me a question and you have a different email that you want me to reply to, go ahead and put that in there as we go through it. I'll do the best I can to go through and follow up with every single one of you that want to leave a question as we go through. So with that said, let's start with some of the basics here. Obviously, my name is Jerry, and about I guess it was back in 2009, 2010 timeframe, I hit a point in my life that I developed this program. And what you're hearing today is an offshoot of what I created called the Law of Attraction Bootcamp. But I do a lot of live seminars where I go out and speak to people live. And in those, I've taken segments of that program and created a course that I teach. And we generally charge quite a bit of money for it. And I've decided at this point that I want to move on, and there's other programs coming down the road, and it's time that we just put this out. And so what you're seeing here is something we used to charge for, and it's absolutely free for you guys today. So this is the beginning of a whole new direction that we're heading with what we're doing, and I'm hoping you're excited with it. So hopefully you'll be able to take this material that you get today and actually put it to work for you immediately after this, and begin seeing changes almost immediately in your life. And I promise you, all the students that I've seen go through this, if you're willing to dedicate yourself and really put in the effort, we've seen some absolutely amazing things. And regardless of where your life is, you're going to see my story is pretty compelling. I've heard stories that make me feel silly for telling my story because theirs seems so much compelling. But when you really get down to it, it's all relative. Every single one of us have a story, and our story to us is the most important story there is at the moment, at least as far as we're concerned. And so you're the creator of your life, and your story matters. So I don't want you feeling like I'm telling this to say that my problems were worse than yours. And on the other side, if yours are worse than mine, it's relative. But regardless of where you are, what you're going to learn today can help you turn that around. And that's why I want to get this out there to everybody. All right. So what we're going to cover today is really what started it for me. I started asking myself the question back in 2009, 2010, why do some people always seem to succeed? No matter what they do, they always seem to achieve success. Yet other people, they can't seem to catch a break. And they may be trying to do the same things, but their consistency. We all know those people in the world that we see around us or on TV or somewhere that it seems like every endeavor they go after, they succeed no matter what. And while there's other people that no matter how hard they try, no matter what they do, no matter how much effort they put in, it seems like something else goes wrong, something else happens, and they just cannot catch a break. And if you're like me, where I was a few years ago, I kept asking myself, why am I not getting a break? I'm trying hard. It's just going to happen one day. The odds are in my favor. One day something's going to go right. And it didn't, and it didn't, and it didn't. And things kept getting worse. And this question was constantly on my mind. So as I went through it, that question became the basis for this program. And what you're going to learn today is we're going to talk about what is the difference between success and failure. That really holds the key to what I'm going to show you with Law of Attraction today. That is the difference. And it's not about effort. It's not about trying really hard. It is actually about a totally different concept. And once you understand that concept, it makes everything you do easier. We're going to talk about what the other Law of Attraction, LOA, programs have failed to mention. And I don't think they've done this on purpose, but I think it's something they oversighted. And the reality is, the success and failure in this world with a lot of people is actually something that may have been intuitive for a lot of people. They may have found this key that the Law of Attraction programs have failed to mention by accident. They may not even know they're doing it. What we're going to do today is we're going to explicitly define it and show you so that you understand what those people are doing, whether they know it or not, that is leading to their successes. And in turn, we understand what other people may have not been doing that has resulted in consistent failures in their life. As part of that, we're going to go on and show you how you can use that knowledge to unlock unlimited opportunity in your life. Now, my wording is very specific here. I talk about opportunity, and opportunity to me is something that leads you where you want to go. It is the ability for what you want to manifest to happen. We ask the universe for something, but we need an opportunity in there for it to actually get to us. And so I'm going to show you how to unlock that opportunity in your life. And that makes everything that you do in Law of Attraction so much more effective in the way that you move forward. And finally, with anything, you can see results. If you learn a trick on how to do something, you can see results. But in order to take knowledge and actually systematically improve your life, you need what I call a happiness strategy, which is basically a plan on how we're going to apply Law of Attraction. So these are the things that you're going to get out of this program today. And like I said, people have paid hundreds of dollars per person to attend seminars that I give to get this exact information. And I can tell you from the feedback from those, this information is life-changing if you will actually take it and put it into action. It is entirely up to you what you do with this information, but I suggest that maybe you get a pen and paper if you don't have one right now, and be prepared to write some things down, because I guarantee you there's going to be stuff in here you can put to work immediately. All right, so as we move forward, let me tell you a little bit about my story. Back in 2009, I hit what I call rock bottom. And I don't mean that in a term that you hear addicts use, but from my situation and the world that I lived in, everything had finally fallen apart. I talked about where it seemed like nothing could possibly go right. And what happened to me was, it seemed like there was no one thing I could pinpoint that went wrong, but it just seemed like I was living paycheck to paycheck, and a car would break down, and I would get behind on a mortgage, and I couldn't make a car payment, and my car would get repoed, and I couldn't go to a job, and I lost the job. And it was this chain reaction of one thing after another that led me to the point that I ultimately had no place to live. I lost my home to foreclosure. I lost my cars to repossession, and I lost my job. And I was having a difficult time finding another job because I didn't have a car that really was dependable. And so I wound up getting another car to try to figure this out, and I was paying money for that, and it just seemed like I was running out of options. And ultimately, I found myself separating from my wife and daughter, not because we weren't getting along. I mean, there was obviously stress because of money and the situation, but it was time to move out into the street, and I couldn't bear to have my wife and child living in the street with me. So I sent her to live with her parents that was over an hour and a half away. The problem is that where they lived was also a small town, and it was nowhere near any place of employment that was to my trade, which was programming at the time. I was a computer programmer. So in order to continue looking for a job, I had to stay in the city, and my wife and daughter went off and moved in with her parents. At first, I started staying in a weekly rate motel. And if you're familiar with these type of hotels, they are generally not on the good side of town. They are generally not safe. They are a cheap alternative to being homeless. And I lived in a weekly rate motel on and off for about 6 months. And during this time, I searched for a job. I did everything I could. And there were days and weeks that I just could not come up with the money to pay for the room. During those off times, I found myself living in a Ford Tempo. This is a picture of the car that I lived in quite frequently. And when that night came that I hit absolute rock bottom, I was living in this car and had been in there about a week. At about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I was sleeping in my car in the back of a Walmart parking lot. I loved the parking lot because it had lights. I knew there were cameras, and I knew it was probably the safest place I was going to find to park. Unfortunately, per their policy, the police would generally come through every now and then and make sure people were not doing what I was doing. So I decided that I would stay in the car and stay there. And about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I got a knock at the window, and it woke me up. It obviously scared me half to death. It was a police officer who was very polite, but very forceful that I was not allowed to be parked there any longer. So I started my car. I was a little bit worried because I was virtually out of gas. It was driving on fumes, and I had no idea where I was going to go. So to throw this out there real quick, I'm seeing a couple questions go through. I see Marty's asking, is this a pre-put together presentation? No, Marty, it's not. This is actually live. So if you ask questions in here, we'll actually answer them as we go along. So everybody who wants to jump in and ask questions, feel free. So as we talk about where I was at that point, I got in my car and I started driving. And I wound up in downtown St. Paul. I was living in Minnesota at the time. And in downtown St. Paul, I found myself about 3 or 4 blocks from a homeless shelter. And I parked on the side of the street there and looked up. And this is actually a picture of that homeless shelter. I didn't take this picture, but I found it. And this is the exact place that I was looking at. So it actually brings back quite a bit of memories. As I was sitting there, people started lining up outside of the shelter. And at this point, it's probably about 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't quite know why they were lining up at first, but eventually the smell hit me and I realized they were cooking some sort of food. And I remember that very clearly because I hadn't eaten in about 24 to 48 hours. And the last meal I'd had was due to some change I'd found under the car seat in the passenger side of my car. I had enough to buy a burger from McDonald's, and that's all I'd had the day before. So I was really, really hungry, and the smell of that food was overwhelming. As those people lined up here, this isn't the exact place, but this is kind of what it looked like. And as I sat there and looked at those people, it hit me. The reality of where I was. This was the first time it had completely sunk in. And I pictured myself getting out of the car and walking up and joining that line. And I kept asking myself, if I do that, am I going to come back from this? Am I going to be able to turn this around and make something of my life, or am I just throwing in the towel here? And that thought hit me so hard that I broke down right there in the car. And that was my moment of realizing this had gotten to a point that I felt like I had lost all control in my life. So after about 2 hours of sitting there in the car, I'd missed my opportunity to go in here and get some food. So I decided instead to drive over to the local library and wait till it opened. And I went in there and I started reading and I started working on what I was going to do with my life. And the only thing I knew to do is back to that first question we asked as we started this presentation, which is, why do some people succeed at everything they do? And quite honestly, why had I failed at everything I had tried to do? Why is it that no matter what I did, it would fall apart? I mean, I didn't start like this. I had some very good successes in my life. In fact, as a computer programmer, I was making at one point 6 figures a year. You would think that when you make that kind of money that you're kind of set. But the reality is that, you know, if you're not working with a plan and doing things right, you're going to see inconsistencies. You're going to see things go good and you're going to see things go bad. And the best case scenario in my life was when I was in what I call a rut, which is basically nothing ever improved, but nothing got worse. And a rut is not a good thing. It just happens to be that you're on autopilot so consistently in your life that you're not making things happen. And it's almost like playing defense to a certain point, that when you're in a rut, you're just waiting for something to go wrong. And it eventually does. So as part of that, I started studying on what was going on. What that led me to, and just so you guys understand that there is a reason I'm saying this, was a discovery that made a difference between what I was doing and all the effort I was putting in and starting to actually see consistent positive results in my life. And what that led to was being able to live the life of my dreams. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And I'm not saying this to brag or do anything like this. I want you to understand that going from where I was to living in a house that you see here, I don't currently live in this house. I'm actually building a new one in Minnesota. This is actually in the mountains of Colorado. This is just outside of Denver. I lived in this home for quite a while. And this is what I was able to get into in a matter of just a few years. And if you'd have told me when I was sitting in that car that I would be living in a house like that, I would have thought you were crazy. This was such a dramatic change. And this is what I'm teaching you today, was what I discovered back then that changed my life. Just this information. I mean, obviously there's a lot more that we can put into this program to make it well-rounded and what you're going to hear today. But the fact is this little piece of information that we're just about to get to is what ultimately changed the direction of my life. And your life is in one of 3 states. If you were like I was back then, it was in decline. Everything was going wrong. It was getting worse every single day. People that are successful, their life is getting better every day. It doesn't matter if they're already millionaires. They're making more money. They're doing other things. There's other things happening, and their life is constantly improving. It's not just about money. It's about happiness. It's about fulfillment. It's about what you're doing. And people that have figured this concept out, whether they've come out and consciously thought about it or whether it's intuitive, they have figured out that you need to change the direction of your life. You want to always be improving, regardless of where you're standing. And then there's the rut. The rut is when you're the balance of both of those things. Some things go good, some things go bad, but your life is an average of all of that, and it doesn't seem to change. The rut is scary to me because the rut is where you get into that you stop remembering what happened yesterday or last week or last month, because every single day is almost the same. In order to be living the life of your dreams, it's not about things. That's one thing that is very important to me. Things are a side effect of everything else going right. So when we talk money, it's a byproduct of everything going right in your life and moving in the right direction. What really makes happiness is things like financial security, fulfilling relationships, health, living a healthy, stress-free lifestyle. This is very important. It's hard to enjoy any other aspect of your life if you are not healthy or something's chronically wrong with you. You want to achieve a point in your life that you have health, opportunity to explore things that interest you. When I was living in that old world, I wasn't able to do anything I wanted or was interested in. I was doing anything and everything I could just to make enough money to feed my family. You want to contribute to the world. You want to have some sense of worth. You want to build new and lasting friendships. You want to explore your spirituality. And I'm going to talk about that word. That word has a different meaning for everybody. That can be a religious connotation, but it can also be whatever you believe in that is greater than yourself. Your spiritual connection is something that everybody needs to work on. You're going to learn as I go through today that I'm not like everyone else. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how the law of attraction works. I'm not going to really try to explain it in any way. I'm not going to use the terms about magnets, or I'm not going to get really into the science, though I believe in a lot of things like that. I do have very firm beliefs, but I think how you want to visualize this is all that matters. I want to take a pragmatic approach to law of attraction here with everybody that says it doesn't matter how it works. These are the things that you need to do to see the results you're wanting to see. So with all that understood, I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, what is your reason? Why do you want to achieve something out of law of attraction? What is it that you're looking to explore? Now, this is kind of a loaded question on my side, because as we go through this presentation, I do have some things that I want you to start categorizing all of your dreams and desires into to help you make a plan to successfully approach how you're going to improve those things. So as we get into this, what is law of attraction? And again, I'm not going to sit here and try to explain how everything works, but I want you to understand that everybody's got their own words on how to describe what's going on here. You've obviously heard like attracts like if you've seen any law of attraction program or you've read any law of attraction book. What we think about most is what we attract into our lives. Has anybody out there heard ask, believe, achieve? Mindfulness. I want to talk about mindfulness here in a minute, but it's where you filter out your negative thoughts and replace them with positive ones so that you can be positive all the time. And thinking positive. Positive thoughts get positive results. These are all very true statements. And a lot of these in non-law of attraction programs, you'll read these words. It is no secret that if we think positive, we generally get better results. This is what I talk to about people that come to seminars that are critical or don't want to listen. When I ask them the scenario about two employees that are up for a promotion and one can see them getting the promotion, they can visualize themselves having it, they believe it's going to happen, they're positive and upbeat about it, and you have the other employee who doesn't think they're going to get it, they never get anything, they don't want to think about it, they don't want to deal with it, and you had to take your best guess as to which one of those people is going to get the position. I think most of us would agree it's the person that is positive about it. And why is that? What is actually physically happening in that situation that gives that person the advantage to getting it? And we can explain that in a lot of different ways. I can explain that from a scientific standpoint about body language and interaction with people and the results those people get. And we can talk about the universe and radiating our desires and getting those answered. No matter how you want to look at it, it doesn't change the fact that it works. And that's why I talked about at the beginning of this program that a lot of people are successful that don't even know what law of attraction is. They did it because they intuitively started doing things that produced results. And they consistently built on top of those discoveries, and they have produced a way of approaching life that gets them results. The fact is that the law of attraction is working 24/7, whether we know about it or not, whether we're thinking about it or not. Our life as it is today is the result of what you've put into the law of attraction. So we have to accept the fact that our life, whether good or bad or in a rut, is the result of what we have done up to this moment to create that life. Now, this is depressing to a lot of people. This is something that I get a lot of resistance in some of the workshops that we've done. And people feel like there are things out there out of their control that created the situation that they're in. But the fact is, how we reacted to those things is ultimately what led us to where we are. And that may sound hard to accept. It may be a hard pill to swallow. But if you can get to the point that you accept that part, you are now freeing your future to become whatever you want it to be. You're not forecasting that your life is forever going to be a certain way. You're opening the door to say it doesn't have to be that way anymore. And until you can accept that, you can't get the benefit of a blank slate moving forward. The law of attraction is always there. It takes whatever we put into it and it produces an output. And if we treat it that consistently, we will start being able to use that model to change what we're putting into it and start getting different results. So in order to do that, we have to come back to the big core question of what we're talking about here. What causes success or failure? Why do some people succeed continuously and others fail continuously? Here are the reasons, and this is part of what I began to discover years ago when I went to that library. These are the things that I came up with. Mindfulness. Now, you're going to hear this term used in a lot of other systems, yoga, meditation. Mindfulness is a positive thing. Unfortunately, put into practice is different than the concept. Put into practice is that we're trying to achieve a state where we only think positive things. Unfortunately, life around us is still the life around us. It still has negative influences that are going to hit us. And what that does is it puts us in a state of mental conflict. We're not able to completely remove the world we live in. We're still going to go to our jobs. We're still going to interact with people. We're still going to do the things we do. And those things are going to conflict with a 100% on all the time positive thought process. And I could never get my head around this. I could not go and sit on the top of a mountain in Tibet and study to be a monk and become 100% mindful in what I was doing. It just was not a practical thing for my situation. So when people said you just need to think positive all the time and you're going to have different results, what it actually did by trying to achieve that was it caused frustration for me. I was frustrated all the time as to why in the world is this not working for me? Why can I not keep this thought? When something would go wrong, I would start thinking negative thoughts and more negative thoughts, and I would try to be positive, and it just caused frustration. The word frustration is negative, and that means that when you are frustrated, you are producing negative results. So I said, how can I fix this? What in the world can I possibly do that I can get around this barrier that I've discovered? What I found out was that maybe changing my behaviors and my habits to do things consistently. So I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to have it on my mind. A great example for this was a while back. I remember I was majorly overweight, and that was due to all the stress of everything going wrong in my life. And prior to talking to you about being in the car and everything that happened. And as I was so overweight, I would go on these diets, and I would tell everybody, I'm going on this diet, I'm going to do this. And I would literally sit there and make decisions. I'm not going to eat this. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to cut my calories down. I'm going to exercise. And what got me in trouble was my habits, my behaviors. My habits were, without thinking about it, without even the realization that I'm doing it, I would just get up, walk to the fridge, grab some ice cream, and I'd be halfway through that ice cream before I remembered I was on a diet. And the habit did that. I never once had a thought that went through my head saying I shouldn't have this ice cream. So what we have to do is we have to address the problem. The problem is that autopilot that we get onto that does things, but that can be a good thing as well. It doesn't have to be all bad. When we take our behaviors and our habits and we do things with such consistency, we start to build the habits and behaviors. And those habits and behaviors can create a situation that produces positive in our life. The next area and reason people fail is chaos. Life is chaotic. It's complex. All the situations we encounter are complex. People are complex. We can't make everybody happy all of the time in everything that we do. And because of this chaotic lifestyle, we have a problem in being unable to get consistent results. So we need to learn how to organize our approach to our life. Now, we can't deal with every scenario that's going to come up every day, but we can categorize a set of responses and actions that we need to take when we encounter things that fit into a category. So this is just like in any business that we approach. We need to organize aspects of our life in certain ways that we can strategically target that area with a set of behaviors and actions that start to improve the dynamic of that situation. And as you organize with any organization, we begin to eliminate chaos. Routine. This is what I was talking about with the ice cream as well. We get into routines that we do. We get up every day, we go to work, we work really hard, we come home, we say hi to our family, we watch TV, we go to bed, we wake up, we do the same thing over and over and over. Routines are comfortable. We hide in them. Just like alcoholics will go take a drink and get drunk to remove themselves from a situation. Taking our thought process out of life is our routine. The drive, how many people, when you get up and you go to work and you get to work and you realize, I don't even remember driving to work. It's not there. I mean, it's almost scary. Like, was I paying attention? Did I really? And we were, but we had such a routine going on that we've done so many times that ultimately we quit thinking about it. And when we quit thinking about it, we quit being able to respond and make situations better. So they just are what they are as a result of our behaviors. So what we need to do is we need to become a detective in our life and start identifying those routines. We need to begin to see where they are, understand where they are, and intentionally begin to disrupt those routines. We need to break them down until we can find actions and results that produce more positive results than we were getting out of that routine. This is a big one. It's ego. And I look at ego in a very black and white thing. We have two versions of ourselves inside that conflict with each other. We have our ego and we have our true self. When we are born as true self. The negative influences of this world, the influences of our parents, the world around us, things that go wrong, worries, fear, doubt, anger, all of these things are what develop a second personality called the ego. It's the other side of our true self. While our true self is connected with anything and everything around us, it is connected with everyone through love. We are meant to all be connected and feel compassionate towards each other. Our ego is a barrier to that. It is a defense mechanism to that. It is something that we build inside artificially that tries to block out all of those connections. And just looking at this black and white, I realize everything has an area of gray, but in order to understand this program, we need to look at this as a very black and white thing. In order to succeed, we need to start minimizing the power of the ego and start increasing our reliance on true self. And the way that we do that is we start challenging our thinking, and that's relatively not a hard thing. It is something that we can look at ourselves and say, am I doing this out of an emotion that is negative, or am I doing this out of an emotion that is positive? And that little litmus test, though not a perfect one, but it is a very good one, says if it's out of a negative emotion, such as anger, or jealousy, any of these things, if it's out of that, then it's probably not the best thing to do. It's probably not going to produce positive results. It's probably going to produce more negative results in your life. I was very guilty of this. When I was back in those days, my ego, I had a six-figure job. I thought I was on top of the world. I was not connecting with people in the way that I should be. And what happened was I produced a lot of negativity around me that constantly pushed on me. And it was the result that caused things to go wrong consistently. So something as simple as saying in your thought process, am I taking this action from my ego or my true self? Is it from a negative emotion or a positive emotion? You'd be amazed at the things that will immediately begin changing in your life. We'll get more to that in a minute. I just want you to understand the concept right now. So we covered those four. The number one reason that people fail to see the results when using the law of attraction, and this is what we've been leading up to this entire presentation, is something I call positive potential. Positive potential is the fuel that you need to unlock opportunity in your life. I like to tell people this is the gasoline that goes in your law of attraction vehicle. The more positive potential that you can create, the more positive potential that you can bank, the more opportunity you're going to open in your life, the more things can happen in your life that are positive. Now, really quick, as a side note to this, there is, as per universal balance, something that is called negative potential. And this is going to answer a question that I get from a lot of people. Why do bad people succeed? Why do I see a lot of people? All you have to do is turn on the TV right now, and you're going to see a lot of people that lie, cheat, and steal that are very successful. And the fact is, it is possible to achieve things with negative potential. You can use negative actions like control and oppression and anger and ego and all these things to dominate things and get stuff. But that's the end of the road for that type of behavior. You can gain money, you can gain fame, you can gain a lot of stuff. But when you choose to approach life using negative potential as your weapon, you're not going to have connection with other people. And they are going to be constantly watching for your failure and trying to make you fail. The world is going to work against you, and you're going to constantly be on guard. And when your life comes to the end and you're laying there on your deathbed, you're not going to have what I consider life currency, which is a connection with all those people around you. That connection is what we're truly looking for. It's what makes us ultimately happy. And we'll talk about that here in a second, but I just want to make a note that positive potential and negative potential are opposite ends of the spectrum that do the same thing. But what you want to do to have a happy, fulfilling, content life is you want to go after positive potential. It is a consistent road that will produce consistent results for you. And you want to make sure that you don't head down the other path. Now, obviously, anything we do negative removes from positive. So we want to be able to unlock opportunity in our life. We want to go down positive, and that's what this program is going to teach you to do. So what exactly is potential? I define potential as the output of a meaningful interaction with another person. That means that if you interact with a person or people, there is a currency that is outputted from that interaction. And that is what I call potential. That can be positive or that can be negative. If I go to my spouse and I show love and support and talk honestly with them, I generate positive potential. But if I go there with anger and I'm upset about something and complain, I produce negative potential. And we understand that the more we do it, the more we're going to get results. If you're constantly positive and you're constantly reaffirming and loving, you're going to improve that relationship. If you're constantly negative and you're following on negative emotions like anger, hate, fear, you're going to decrease the connection. People are an opportunity to unlock doors to get things. What got me out of where I was back in 2009 was I started interacting with people with this in mind. And what happened was I would come across somebody who goes, hey, my uncle owns this company. They might need some work. Would you be interested in? They would never have said that to me if I had not had a positive, meaningful interaction with that person. And I built it and consistently grew it. This is the key to unlocking opportunity. When you start being positive with all of your interactions with all people around you at all times, you're going to find that when you go to manifest, you have a currency built up, just like a bank account, full of positive potential, that manifestations are going to come like as quick as possible. You're going to get what you want in life much, much, much faster by facing this. So you want to approach potential as positive or negative. We want to make sure that when we interact with people, that we are not aiming at the negative emotions, that we are aiming for positive interaction with those people. And you will be amazed in the course of an average day how many interactions you have with other people. It can be a neighbor, it can be strangers in a store, it can be the person that checks you out, it can be a boss, it can be coworkers, it can be everyone you encounter, your family members, your friends. And then there are the people that we can intentionally reach out to. That old friend that we haven't talked to in a year. We need to reach out and reestablish and reaffirm connections and do things for each other and show the positive side and start rebuilding the whole thing. So we want to start banking this positive potential. Start looking at your life as, am I growing or losing potential? That is a very important first step in what we're doing. But that is not going to completely approach everything. So what we have to do is we have to start taking a look and saying, how do I use that potential? We understand I go out and start having these interactions. How do I really start using it? An analogy that we use that the students have really taken to and love, and it has become really the center point of everything that we're doing, is the analogy of doors. A door is an opportunity for the universe to deliver what you desire. When you have a manifest request, I want this to come into my life, there is a door between you and that dream. Positive potential unlocks doors. These doors are a path for the universe to deliver what you want. Here's the rub. We don't know which of our desires is behind which door. So each door is a path for the universe to deliver our dreams and desires. We know that positive potential opens doors. Here's a key. A lack of potential or negative potential closes those doors. So what we want to do is we want to start figuring out a way that we can use positive potential to open as many doors as possible and keep them open. An important part of this analogy is understanding that opening the door is just the first step. We need to make sure we keep that door open. Our negative habits and our negative behaviors, often on autopilot or in routine of our life, shuts those doors behind us. We don't realize it. This is where a lot of people that learn about law of attraction at the beginning, and I don't know if you're like me, but when people learn about law of attraction, they spend the next few days, few weeks, maybe a month or two, really, really trying to put in the effort to make it work. They may work really hard at it. They may make vision boards and write down positive affirmations and follow themselves every day. But the fact is they still have their routine. The routine that, by the way, was created before they thought about all this stuff. That routine might be ignoring that receptionist you walk by every day, and she thinks in her head, how rude, they ignore me. Your routine is creating negative potential in all these areas of your life without you realizing it. So no matter how hard you work, your routine may be working against you in the background to undo this. There's also our ego. You may work with your spouse or your friends or your family members to build a very positive relationship only to destroy it in a 5-minute outburst of negativity and anger. And we have to understand that there is a cost to our own anger. We're not hurting other people when we express these emotions. That needs to be very clear. When you're angry and you're challenging somebody and you're upset and you feel like you need to express it to them, you aren't actually hurting them in any way, shape, or form. All you're doing is you are banking negative potential that is robbing you of all the hard work that you've done. So it's very important that we make sure that we understand that we need to build a lifestyle that builds as much positive potential as possible, but minimizes the negative potential that we do. So it's two factors we need to think about. So this is kind of an aha moment. It was for me, and I hope that I've explained it well enough that it kind of is for you guys. So we have this new concept that we can look at and a new perspective to look at everything. But how do we actually achieve results now that we know this? How do we actually go forward and approach our situation here to actually make this work for our life and improve our life and ultimately result in what I refer to as happiness? Happiness is not derived from one thing. And that's one thing that we need to understand. People are like, I just need a bunch of money and I'll be happy. I can tell you that doesn't make you happy. It eliminates some stresses and problems. There is no doubt about it. But just having money is not enough. We have a lot of factors in our life that need to all be healthy in order for us to truly be happy. So what we want to do is at the beginning of our law of attraction journey, understanding what we do is we want to make a plan. And we want to strategically approach how we take this new knowledge that we have and actually do something that actually makes our life better. Sorry. All right. So what we have to do here is we have to take a strategic look at what we do. And one of the things that we teach about is a concept called the 6 pillars of happiness. This is a way to classify. It may not be perfect, and you may have things that are gray areas. You may have things that split between these areas, but I want you to look at this as just a nice way to visualize where we draw our happiness from in our life. The very first area is our friends, the people that we choose to invite into our life, these people that we connect with. The more meaningful interaction you have with those people, the more they're there to support you when you need it. The more they can support you when you need it, the more you're constantly happy. Or if there's a problem, you can turn to these people and they can help you, and it's not as bad as it would have been if you were alone. Obviously, one of the most important areas is family. These are people that we don't necessarily choose to have in our life. Now, I want you to kind of look at these two and understand that you can have a friend that you've been friends with since you were 5 years old that may be more like a family member than a friend, and they are. So these are categorizations. If you want to choose who's going to be in what category, everybody's got friends and family. Even if you don't have actual living relatives in the world, you need to have meaningful interaction with people. This can be a spouse. This can be a boyfriend, girlfriend. This can be a very close friend that you just interact with on a certain level. We all need to have a family category, that deep person that we can express our deepest concerns with. These are what we call family in our life. So it's not just biological. I don't want everybody getting stuck on that. These are classifications that we choose to put people in our lives. Wealth. This is the ability to not worry in here. So this could be as simple as all the bills are paid and I'm saving enough for retirement and that's what I want in life. That is wealth. If you've achieved what you need, you're wealthy. Now, obviously, some people want more than that and they want to grow that into something bigger and better. It's not just money. This is the external factors in your life. This is a home. This is shelter. This is security. This is making sure that you can put food on the table. This is making sure that you feel like you have taken care of the worries in your world. This is the stability that you're looking for. And however big you want to grow that is entirely up to you. But understand it's not just a money thing. People look at this and go, $1 million, that's solved. It's not necessarily true. Next, we're looking at health. Health is one of those areas that if you're not healthy, you're not going to be real happy. If you've got a chronic disease or you're constantly in a pain, that is going to be something that is affecting your ability to find true happiness. And we want to make sure that we're living a lifestyle that tries to prevent those things. We want to try to push those things out. And being positive and not worrying and having those negative produced hormones that push through our body that fight us, those are things that make us even more unhealthy. So we want to make sure that we focus on the area of health in our life. Purpose. This is either a career or a hobby, but the reality is that whatever it is, you need to feel like you have contributed to the greater good of something other than yourself. You need to have a reason to get up every day and something to accomplish. And some people, they manage to align their career with that, and that is fantastic. But I'm not sitting here telling you that the job you're in right now or any job that you ever get is going to be your purpose. It may not be. This may be volunteer work that you're doing on the side. Whatever it is, it's in this category. And when you need to make sure you define that, because we pull from that. And case in point, in my world where things were going good and bad, there were points in my relationship prior to my rock bottom moment that I would have arguments with my family, and I would go to work and I would put extra work in there and things would go a little bit better at work. And I was drawing my self-worth from my work world, but I wasn't focusing on my family world, and it drug me down. But you can flip that around. You can put all your focus there and not have purpose, and that's not good either. The stay-at-home mom, I mean, if her purpose is defined as that and she feels it in her bones, is great. But if she feels like she needs to go out in the world and do something and contribute, that is something she needs to address. And I can tell you that from working from home, there are times that I'm paying bills, but I need to get out and do something. I need to help people. I need to get out there and do something for other people because I need that in my life. So you want to make sure you focus on these categories and you keep them all healthy. One being healthy is not going to lead to happiness. 3 or 4, you can feel happy, but you're at risk of something bad happening in one of the other areas that will bring you down. So you want to focus on all these areas. The last one is spirituality, and I touched on this a minute ago. This is what you define it as, but you have to make a statement that something somewhere out there is bigger than you are, and that is what the world is about. That's what the purpose is in being alive. You need to define what that is. And I've had people that were atheists that came in here and fought me tooth and nail on this, and I'm going to tell you right now that in talking with them, they defined their existence in a certain way of science and helping others and doing good things. But without that moral compass of doing something greater than yourself out there and contributing to the world, you're going to not feel a connection. You're going to feel empty. And I'm not going to sit here and make a religious explanation to anybody, but I'm going to tell you that you need to find what that is for you, and you need to incorporate it into this program. Whatever it is, you need to put it in here. If it is Christianity, if it is Islamic, if it is anything out there, you need to find a way to take a moral compass to the approach and way you're doing everything. And I'm asking that you reach inside of yourself and pick what that is. I've got my own beliefs, and they're very near and dear to me. But the reality is that my beliefs are not necessarily somebody else's beliefs, and I believe what we're teaching here can affect all lives. We need to improve this world. We need to improve the way that we interact with each other in this world. We are not all that different, but we need to find commonality. And religious aspects are what create many, many wars. And we want to make sure that we are connecting with people, and our beliefs are very important. They are. And spirituality is very important. I just want you to take some self-reflection and ask yourself, what is your spirituality? And I ask that it needs to be something in here that you draw from to bring you happiness. All right, so now that we understand what those 6 areas are that generate happiness, let's kind of look at it from a different perspective, turn it on its side, if you will, and say that we need to figure out a plan that approaches attacking these areas. So we have these 6 areas right here. The way that I like people to visualize this is imagine that you are wearing a tool belt. And what we want to do is we want to develop very specific tools that we put in that tool belt that we can apply to any one or all of these 6 areas. So the first pocket we have in the tool belt to keep us organized is going to be a pocket dedicated to tools that help us create positive potential in each of these areas. I have created what I call the Power 10. And these are the 10 tools that we can use to generate positive potential in any one of these 6 areas. Now, this is where you might want to write this down. And I'm going to run through these. We don't have a ton of time, but I'll run through each one of these here. The power of accountability. This is accepting that you are responsible for your life. Your life is not blamed on somebody else. It is not the result of somebody else. There is no blame. There are no excuses as to why your life is where it is. It is simply where it is because of what has been put into the law of attraction to produce the results that you've gotten thus far. But in order for you to take control and actually change the direction of your life, you're going to have to accept the fact that it's your responsibility. You cannot look at people around you and go, I can't because of whatever. You don't understand. This happened to me and I can't. You don't understand. If you're saying those things, you're fighting this. If there is blame and excuses or finger pointing, you are not understanding that accountability is the key. When interacting with other people, accountability produces things like integrity. When you're accountable for something and you own up to being accountable and you take it as your responsibility to make it right, people are going to say you have integrity. They're going to say you're honest. They're going to start using positive words to describe you. So you can very clearly see that when you interact with people, that accountability is not something we should fear. We were taught by the world to make excuses. When you're in a job and something didn't get done, it's real easy to say, well, I couldn't do this because so-and-so didn't get me their stuff and this didn't happen and whatever. But we know inside, I probably should have gone yesterday and asked them and maybe help them get to that point so this could be successful. But we didn't do it because we knew that we could point a finger. The reality is we are always in control. The more we express it, the more that we become dependable to people, the more we have the ability to change the direction of our life. So using accountability, very important. Power of happiness. This is where we talk about the 6 areas in our life, but we draw power from the fact that we keep all 6 healthy. And the result of being happy is when you interact with other people, you raise their vibration level. If they aren't feeling great and you're happy and you come and you're supportive and you're with them, you're raising them up. And by doing that, you are generating positive potential. If you become an inspiration to the people around you, you better believe that you are generating lots and lots of potential. This is why fame is something that we inherently, a lot of people want. And the reason is we have this influence to go out and spread our word, message, or our being to other people. And if we are happy and we are full of integrity and we have these other things, we generate positive potential. There's a negative side of that, and that's the infamous traits. If you do things that are negative, you're producing negative potential in a mass scale, and it's not a good thing for the direction of your life. So unless you're one of those people that is approaching life and power through negative potential, you do not want that. So you want to make sure that you are happy and you derive happiness from your areas, you keep them healthy. The happier you are, the happier the people around you are. Power visualization is not just the ability to put together a vision board and clearly define what you want in life. The power of visualization is actually proactive. We are able to sit down and look at a situation and mentally visualize it happening. I have a thing I call the virtual boardroom. And this is one of those when I have a big business meeting that is going to occur, I actually, a few days beforehand, sit and hold that very meeting in my head. I invite all the attendees, we sit around a round table and we start down the discussions and I start expressing the opinion that I have and I start trying to convince them that what direction we need to move is right. And I listen to their feedback. And I discovered 2 things that happened out of this. One, their statements to me started to change some of the ways I thought. I started to see things from their perspective. Secondly, when the event actually occurred, it happened almost exactly the way I visualized it. It's almost like I made the situation happen because I pre-planned it. And I don't know if this is because I reacted differently when I walked in or I was prepared more than I normally was. I don't know, but generally I came out of almost every meeting I did that with very positive. And ultimately what started happening after I got really good at doing it was I would walk in and they were already convinced. It already was going to go down a path that I had foreseen. And you start learning that your power visualization is a way not only to influence the situation, but to change the direction of it. You see athletes do this all the time. They see themselves winning. They run that race in their head over and over and over. This is not just a preparation. This influences the outcome of that event. Power of memory. This is talking about everything in our past. A lot of people believe that we are just strictly the result of what has happened to us in our lives. This happened to me in my childhood, so I'm scared to do these things. The fact is, and there's a phrase that I love, which is it's never too late to have a fantastic childhood. A fantastic childhood is not something that I can go back in time and actually change. But the reality is everything in my childhood is a memory. It is inside my head. And literally a memory is just like a hard drive in a computer. It is stored data. Now, impacting memories that cause me to change my decisions and bring up maybe negative feelings or even positive feelings, they're stored with an emotional imprint of when they happened. So, but still, that is just data. So when I remember this, I get a flood of negative feelings. That is the result of the negative memory and is the result of the imprint of my emotions at the time. That does not have to be something that affects you from this moment forward. First of all, those memories, they are not real. They are just data. Secondly, we can do something called a memory swap. And that is sit down and think to yourself a way that should have played out that produces positive feelings. And I want you to pretend in your head that really happened. And the amazing thing is the way we store a pretend memory and the way we store a real memory, exactly the same way. With one exception. Generally, when we pretend as adults, we've lost the ability to put the emotion in it, but that's not something we can't do. If you literally sit and think about something and you put a positive feeling with it, and freeing feeling, empowering feeling, the next time you think of that negative thought, you're also going to associate it with that positive pretend memory. And eventually you've replaced it. And it is an amazing thing. When you start doing this more and more, you're going to find that when those memories pop up and would have affected a decision, your positive implanted pretend memory is going to counter that. In a worst case scenario, they just cancel each other out and it doesn't have an impact on your situation. But if you get really good at it, that positive memory will flood you with positive feeling, so overwhelming that you completely change the direction of your life. And you can use the bad memory as an inspiration as to why you did it. We see this in the world all the time. There are victims of tragedies all the time. We have people that have lost limbs that ultimately give up and quit and commit suicide eventually. And it's awful. And we have other people that do the same thing and they go off and they become great and they change the world and they do amazing things. The same catalyst affected both of those people. How they chose to store those memories and how they chose to use that information affected the direction they went. And it is not too late. Every single person sitting here listening to this right now, you can turn around and take all those negative memories of your life and change the direction. The power of giving, there is something magic that happens between two people when you provide something they need to go to the next level. So this is not just money. This is not just charity. This is stepping in and doing what you can to help people you're associated with, family members, friends, coworkers, everybody. When you can give of yourself something that you're capable of to somebody that is incapable of doing something and you help get them over a hurdle, you generate so much potential in your life. There are millions of stories out there of how this is paid out for people. There was one story I read about a couple that used to raise foster children. And after their last foster child, like their 25th child, moved out of the house and went on, things went wrong for their business. The father ran into some medical conditions and ultimately was unable to work, and they were losing their house and ultimately did lose their house. And all of those children that they had fostered over all these years had got together and they went out and they contacted all the people in their community, and they raised so much money that they built a $250,000 home without telling them, and then gave it to them. And that is the result of a lifetime of giving. When you need it, those people will be there, and you want to make sure that you're fostering that constantly. The power of love is understanding one thing. This is not about romance. When I say power of love, it's very important that we understand that we're talking about our connection with other people. Our connection with other people and things, animals, life, trees, the world, the earth, the universe. Our connection with everything out there starts in a pure condition. And that pure condition is what I call love. In any relationship that you have, that is what you're seeking. When you're angry at somebody, you are putting a wall between you and that person in that connection. Finding a way to redefine that relationship in a positive, connecting way will improve that relationship hands down. The way I interact with everybody in business, the way I interact with my family was completely changed with this concept. When I feel the need to get upset, I immediately realize if I express that, I'm putting that wall there, and everything that I want is going to go away. So instead, I take a moment, I re-clarify, and I say things that are connecting. And if you learn to do this, you're going to find that you connect with even people you think are enemies are not meant to be your enemy. They are just people that things have happened, things have gone in life and influenced your decision-making process to a point that you apply negativity to that approach. Now, there are people in this world, and one of the questions that popped up about family and friends, should you push those negative people out of your life? I think there is a point where if you are in fear of yourself in your life, that of course you don't want to project yourself to danger. But the fact is that when you follow these things, you may find that all the relationships you thought were toxic may actually change direction. If you can learn to connect without the negativity, if you can learn not to get your buttons pushed and produce negative results in that conversation, you would be amazed at how the dynamic of that relationship changes. And I find it very rare that people have to push many people out of their lives. It does happen. There is things like violence and drug addiction and other stuff that absolutely you need to keep yourself safe, and you need to make sure that you're not caught up in a toxic environment such as that. But the reality is, when it comes to the connection between a spouse and your family members and your friends and your coworkers and things, 99.99% of the time, if you follow these things and find a new connection level, you may find that whole dynamic has changed to something very positive, not negative. You want to make sure that you approach it that way. Power perspective is how we look at things. This is real easy to explain. When you have an argument, most of the time during that argument, both people think they're right. And in some way, I guarantee if you step in and look at it, you both are right on something. But you both want to be completely right. And very rarely when we engage with people is one person 100% right and one person 100% wrong. Whatever we're discussing, maybe two different things, trying to be right on the way that we're looking at it. And so perspective is just how you choose to perceive it. But the fact is you're not locked into what you think. If it is not beneficial and is not going to produce positive results, why wouldn't you want to kind of change your perspective or look at it differently and see if maybe that might produce a better result? And just simply that thought process when you approach a situation. I had a coworker at work that was dumping a lot of work on me and blaming me for things. And I was really upset, and I knew I was right. They shouldn't be doing this to me. That's wrong. You shouldn't be, whatever. Instead of looking at it that way, I started saying, okay, well, maybe there's a reason. Maybe they see a reason. And I actually went and sat down with the person and said, how's your life going? Is there things going on? And come to find out, his wife had cancer, and she was getting treatments, and he was ducking out to go to those treatments, and he felt overwhelmed and things were falling, and he was doing the only thing he knew to do was to try to shove off some of that work to get it done. And we had a really good long talk about, hey, whenever you need it, I'm here. Let me know what I can do to help. And everything changed. And that person is still a really good friend of mine at this point. And it was a perspective shift. And it's because I looked for a different perspective that a positive outcome came. I very well could have gone and talked to the boss, and the boss would have agreed with me, and the boss would have gone down on that person, and their life would have got worse, and things would not have been better for me because that person would have lost their job. And guess who in the end would have had to do all of their work? It would have been me. So you have to look at things differently than you do. Learn that just shifting your perspective can change everything. Power of intention. This is going out in the world and making sure that you're making it happen. It is living with intention. When you look at the world out there and the way that you interact with situations, you can make a choice whether or not you're going to make this happen or whether you're going to let it happen to you. And when you deal with people and you want to create positive potential with them, you want to make sure that you look at what their intentions are. And not only are you helping define yours, you're helping define theirs, and you're collaboratively working together. But this becomes a factor that you're intentionally living your life. You're not looking for routine. You're not looking for ways to duck out. You are intentionally, purposefully taking actions in everything you do to get an end result that is more positive than you otherwise would have gotten. And the final is belief. The fact is, we have to believe not only in ourselves, but the people around us. We have to believe that the goodness is in every single person we interact with. Inside of them, they don't want to be bad. They don't want to do negative things. They don't want to affect. They're reacting from a world just like you were a few minutes ago before you learned all of this. And by believing and understanding not only your own ability to do whatever it is you want to do, you're inspiring those people to also believe. When I made this climb, it was not just me. My entire family, my friends, my entire network of association are all much more successful today than they were back then. And I'm able to take what I've learned and go teach businesses how to make better profits, not by going after what everybody thinks business is, but instead turning around and looking inwards at their own employees and connecting with their own employees. You would be amazed what changes have happened. But they don't believe it until you walk in and start showing the importance of this connection. So you need to believe in not only your ability, but everybody around you. All right, we're running a little long here, and I don't want to take everybody's time up too badly here. So let's run through the other pocket here, which is the prevention of loss. This is the other pocket of tools, and these tools are designed, instead of creating potential, they help protect the potential that you have created. Another way to put it, these are the bad habits and behaviors that we have in our life that destroy things without us realizing we destroyed them. I call these the Mastery 10. The first one, and the most important one on the basis of it, because if you don't deal with this, none of the others matter, is your ego. It is the source of all the negative emotions you're going to express. So approaching your ego is very important. Your environment, this comes back to the question that somebody asked before, which is, do I push the toxic environments out? It's not so much about pushing the negative people out as it is creating an environment that is conducive and positive around you. If you need a place to go to meditate and feel tranquil, you are in control of defining that place. If you have a schedule that is just from the moment you wake up to the point you go to sleep is completely chaotic, you are in control of putting in certain aspects of that environment to give yourself some peace and organize and put yourself back on track. Nothing is defined for you. You are in control of your own life. It is not defined for you. You may have a job with responsibilities. You may have commitments to your family. You may have commitments to your friends. But the reality is you've allowed these obligations and commitments to be put in place. They don't have to be shackles. And the reality is that I've heard, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. So many times it's ridiculous. But the fact is something as simple as reclaiming a single hour in a day. That equates to what? 365 hours a year. And if you think about that, if I would give you a personal assistant that would come into your life and do whatever you ask them to do, and you can use them for, a work week for an average person is 40 hours. You have 365 hours to dedicate to somebody coming in and working on what you want to do. I can't think of very many little projects that I couldn't get done with that 365 hours. And it just takes 1 hour of reclaim in your day. And we can all do it because you look at the mindless routine habits that we have. I sat in front of the TV for an hour and a half. I sat at my computer and surfed websites instead of doing something. There are many things during the day that if you can learn to reclaim those, you can easily get an hour for yourself. That hour can be the beginning of putting yourself in a new situation that allows you to define all the hours in your day. So you need to look at that as a very important thing. Master of routine. We talked about this a little bit before, so I'm not going to go into great detail, but the fact is we go into autopilot and we miss our lives, and the results of those interactions happen during that routine, and we're not in control. And for most of us, that routine was developed prior to understanding everything you've learned today, which means it's random. Some of them might be building positive potential, some of them might be building negative potential. That's the rut. So you want to make sure you approach your routine and redefine it, go back and reanalyze it, re-architect it, and build new habits and behaviors that ultimately, if you do fall into a routine, at least you know it's producing positive results. Mastery of time. This is with any other success program. If you don't learn to look at your day as an opportunity to achieve positive potential, then you're not going to see better benefits. You can reclaim every action you do in that day and get benefit. You are in control of time. You need to organize your day. And once you start understanding that, you're going to do the same thing I did. You're going to start looking at my day going, okay, I've learned to do everything I was doing more positive, and it's great, and it's produced wonderful results. But how can I start doing different things in my day? Instead, maybe I should go volunteer somewhere and interact with a lot more people. Maybe I should go do this. Maybe I should go do that. You need to take control of your time. Mastery of distraction. TVs, mindless shows, start identifying those areas. Don't let yourself get to work and fall into the routine of, I go to this meeting, I go to this, I do this, and you quit thinking. You want to make sure that you're engaged. If you're not engaging, there's something wrong. You're not giving the best you can give, and you're not going to produce positive outcomes for your employer. You need to make sure that you focus. You need to learn to take a look at whatever it is you're wanting to do and get it done. Master of reality. Our world around us is part of a perspective. And our beliefs of what truly is around us is nothing more than that. It is a belief. We might think that my neighbor is mean and our neighbor is not mean. I thought that coworker that was giving me all that work was being unfair. My reality every time I came into work was that person is unfair. That was my reality. But I took a step back and said, you know what? There's other perspectives, other ways to look at this. I can change my reality. And so when you find those things that are negative, redefine it, recreate your reality. Your world is what you make it. It is not something that is dictated for you. It's not real. It's just an interpretation of what it is you're seeing. And if it isn't right, go redefine it and reinterpret it and make it right. Mastery of influence, another tool in here. You have the ability to influence every encounter, every event, every situation, every interaction you have. And if you do that with a positive attitude and your goal is to influence it, not with winning, but instead positive outcome. You want to go for the win-win for everybody in a situation. You want to introduce the ability for a situation to have a good outcome. Your influence will spread like you will not believe. At work, if you start doing that, they're going to start to depend on you more. You're going to be in more situations. Your position is going to grow. Your friends are going to want to be around you. It is going to change everything. Start learning to understand that you have an influence and it needs to be positive. Mastery of negativity. This is our own lives. The fears, the doubts, the negative emotions, they're just feelings. They are not real. And you need to learn that when you feel those things is the time to look at everything else you've learned here and go grab some of those tools and start doing something proactively. I tell people, when you feel negative, that is the universe's way of prodding you to go do one of the things on the Power 10. On that other list, grab one of those tools and go make a situation that has a positive outcome. If you're feeling lonely, go find a friend that's lonely and help them. If you're feeling lost, go talk to somebody else and help them find a way. If you're broke, go help somebody in need. It doesn't have to be money, help somebody. The fact is, if you go do something, it will affect your own life. We cannot be negative and positive at the same time. If you're doing something positive and you're doing it for the right reasons, you can't feel negative. So that feeling negative is a wonderful prodding tool if you learn to use it right, but you got to master it. Instead of letting it affect you and stop everything, use it as a motivation. When I feel it, I need to go do one of these things. I'm being told I've got to go do one of these things. You put that into a habit, you'll be amazed how quickly your life turns around. Mastery of doubt. All of us throughout our lives have been told by people what we can and can't do. And I'm sorry, but our society is designed to keep people in power and people that are not in power out of power. That is the way the world works. It is not right. It's not fair. It is the way it is. We are sent through indoctrination from the moment we're born. Our parents tell us what we should and shouldn't do. They tell you what is realistic and what you should and shouldn't do. And good parents will encourage you to grow and go beyond what you think. But even they were influenced the same way. So you have to understand that their ideologies are built by the environment of the world around us. Doubt is nothing more than a boundary you've set in your own head. And you're right. No matter where you put that boundary line, it is the boundary line. But what most people don't realize, if I move that way out much further than I ever imagined possible, that becomes the boundary. And suddenly all this new potential is available to me. Doubt is not something that we need to use to defer us. It's something that we need to say, oh, I need to look at this and blow that obstacle out of my way. I need to fix this in some way. So look at it as the world artificially influencing you. And if you look at it, it's true. We go to school. What do they teach you? Sit down, be quiet, do what you're told. When we get out of school, we go to a job. What do they tell you? Go to your desk, do what you're told, get this done, and everything's going to be fine. If you go outside of that boundary, it's not fine. And we sit there and we suddenly realize that the whole world is influencing what we're capable of and what we're not. And I'm going to tell you right now, I went from living in my car hungry. My family was going to leave me eventually. It was all falling apart. And now I get to live the life of my dream, helping people's lives. And everything has fallen into place. And all I had to do was remove the doubt. Get rid of it. The world has put it there. It doesn't belong. And if we took the doubt out of everybody's head on the earth, imagine the things we could accomplish. So you need to start being one of those people that inspires people around you to remove it. The last one is mastery of momentum. This is, as you do each of these things, you're adding to the velocity that you're moving forward. If you fix one relationship in your life, if you improve one thing in your life, it's good. But it makes it easier to improve a second, and even easier to improve a third. And as you start doing more and more and more, you're going to find that all of that positive that you're creating in your wake is now becoming a force that helps you influence in things that you never thought you could. It's like that promotion. If you have a boss that doesn't like you, you may sit there and think, I can't get a promotion because my boss doesn't like me. And you're right. But if you come in and you say, you know what, I'm going to start improving that relationship, but it's still not going to get me there because there's all these years that he's got all these thoughts in his head. But you go to another coworker and you help them out. You go to somebody else and you help them out. And eventually you connect with all the other coworkers in that company. Do you know what they're probably doing in the background? They're having conversations with your boss about the new you. And they're influencing him. So the more people you touch, the more momentum you build and the more success you're going to find in things you never imagined possible. So these are all very important tools, but they're important for you to understand on the side of the Mastery 10 that we want to keep the doors open that we worked so hard to open. So mastering all these, mastering the Power 10, this right here, if you take this approach and this strategy can change your life forever. And like I said, as you can see as we've gone through this, it's not telling you about how the law of attraction works. These are the things that fuel it. These are the things that make law of attraction happen. When you do these things, you become these things. And your life will never, ever be the same. All right, that's pretty much the content that we have here. I want to run through real quick and just recap some of these things. We must strive for meaningful and positive interactions with other people. It's not just enough to take your life the way it is today, because a lot of us, we pulled back from a lot of our interactions. So in doing the Power 10 and generating positive potential, the first step is interacting with the people that are currently interacting with your day. But you want to, once you start doing that, and you're going to feel compelled to do it. I don't even have to say it. As you become more and more positive with the people in your life, you're going to feel this push to interact with more people and grow that influence. And it will happen. You want to bank your positive potential. Again, you're seeing here, a lot of what I've taught is going to be autopilot. You're banking that potential. Even though you weren't consciously thinking about it, after a while of doing something over and over, you're doing something that produces positive results. It can be unconscious. So this doesn't have to be, I thought about this 24/7. This is, I start approaching certain behaviors and habits and improving them to be positive. As they become habits again, they produce positive results in our life. So we have to analyze those behaviors that rob us. And we want to make sure we focus all of these things in the 6 areas that make us happy. And by doing that, you're going to see results that are just absolutely incredible. So that is what we have here. And one of the questions I always get when I run on this, and I don't want to move into this and everybody think that there's a sales pitch here, but I want to tell you that if you want to go further and you want to learn all of these in major detail, we do have a program that can approach it. And if you're interested in actually taking a hand-holding approach to achieving all these things and walking through all of these items in much greater detail than I could do here, you can see I've already run over and I talked really fast. The reality is I could spend a day on every single one of those things and still only hit about half the content. So we created a 30-day boot camp out of all this material here. And if you're interested in that, I've got a really good deal because you've sat through this and you've got through this. I want to make sure that if you want to go down, that you don't have to just go to our regular sales page and pay the price that everybody else is going to pay for this program. You've got a very good start on this here. And if you've got some momentum you want to take with this, I more than encourage you to go take a look at that. The 30-day boot camp that we offer out there, we do a deep dive cover on the Mastery 10. And we do a deep dive on the Power 10. It's a 30-day course. You log in there. There's 30 days of audio. I do it as audio intentionally. A lot of people have asked, why isn't it video? I'm going to tell you, sitting down for 30 days and watching videos is not fun. But if you can put these on your iPod or your MP3 player or put them in your car, you can listen to them on a computer. You can do whatever you want. I let you download them. You can take them and put them wherever you want and listen to them at your pace. What I find is that most of my students go through the 30 days and they do it at their own pace. Some may take 60, but they go through the 30 days. And I'm telling you, I've got people from 5 years ago that still send me messages today saying, hey, I've been going through the course again and again and again, and it's absolutely amazing. So you've got the ability to get all that. We've thrown in some extra bonuses, positive affirmations. I'm a big believer in resetting with meditation. And I put in here some meditation music that you can use to listen to put you in the right frame of mind. If things are going wrong, listen to this music. It'll change your vibration level. As simple as that. So I put this in there. A Healthy Mind ebook, obviously removing the clutter and getting some of the negatives out of our thinking process. I felt that was a very important part to add in here. That's something you can read as well. And there's a portal here that you can log into at any time from here on out and get access to your information. So if those downloads get lost or whatever, you can come in here and listen. It also helps pace you a little bit. When you come in here, you know what you're supposed to do next. So portal is very important. That normally, years ago when I released it, I had it as a high ticket item. It was very expensive, about $2,000. I started recently selling that at about just under 300. That's an amazing deal, but I'm not going to sit here and pitch that to you guys. I feel like you've sat here. The comments have been absolutely amazing that I've seen come through here. And I want to make sure that I give you something. One of the other bonuses that I used to upsell that comes through this in the program, if people wanted a few more things and they wanted more than this, I have a success kit that goes with it. And these are guided meditation programs that help you sit down and relax and focus on certain areas that may be causing a toxic aspect to your thinking. And that comes with the way we think about money, the way that we architect our life, and even defining our true self and understanding the difference in healing and past traumas and reaching your full potential. All of these are in here, and they absolutely are like everybody, because I mean, I've got employees and we got bills to pay, and we need to charge for some of these programs out here, but I'm putting this all together in one big package here. The way that it used to sell is at $299. We now sell everything. If you go to the main webpage and you look at this stuff, the core package is $97. The success kit is $47. I'm just going to give everything all included right here to you guys as part of this for just $97. I got it as cheap as I could for you guys to get in there, look at the new portal, get everything you want, and get everything all inclusive in here. And I'm going to tell you right now, unlike the other people that run these type of programs, you are not going to see this program a week or 6 months from now for sale to the general public for $97. Literally sitting in here and coming through my very first webinar, which I thank you more than anything, because we've never done it like this before. This is a price only for you. Nobody's ever going to see this other than the audience that has been sitting here. So if you want to take a look at that, please feel free to head over to lawofattractionlessons.com, which is a blog /web. And that will redirect you to the main page that's hidden from the public view. So you might want to write that down and go take a look at it. And if it's something you're interested in going down, great. I am going to tell you that the first batch of students that goes through, I'm personally going to be reaching out and doing some private webinars with all those people to answer questions about where you are in the program and that sort of stuff. So that's only for this group. I can't, obviously, as this generally opens, there's going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of new people that come in, and I can't keep up with interacting live. But this first group of people here for this new program, the way we're doing it, if you guys want to go in, I'm telling you, we're going to be setting that up, and I'll be answering your questions directly. So thank you very much for that. Let me just throw some links up here. And while I have these links up here, in case you guys want to email me or you want to go to our Facebook page, I would appreciate a like if you enjoyed what you heard. Or if you want to go to the website, there's the information. I'm going to leave that up here. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through and answer a few of the questions that have popped up as we've gone through. Let's see here. I have Mary that was on here. She's asking, how do I overcome my self-promotional challenge? I seem to lag back at every hint that something positive might happen. In other words, I seem to subconsciously attract the opposite. And that is a fantastic question. Part of what is happening there is your own doubts and fears of success. And they're generated from that source inside of us that is the ego. And the ego is not just what everybody thinks of, I am the greatest, I am whatever. No, the ego is the generation of all negative fears, thoughts that we have. So if you have a negative thought process in your head, it's coming from your ego. And your ego is actually trying to sabotage everything you do. It is trying to do the opposite of what true self wants, which is to connect. So what you want to do is you want to focus on taking positive actions. You can't be negative and positive at the same time. So when you feel a negative, make sure you go out and do something positive in the world right now. All right, let's see. we had the question about toxic and unhappy people. You're going to find as you move through the program, we talked a little bit about it before, but as you become a more positive person, your life is going to redefine itself. And people that are in your life being negative, they're in your life being negative because they're getting a reaction from you that somehow is giving them an emotional feedback that they want. If somebody's abusive mentally to you, a boss is angry and people say bad things about you, it is because they're finding problems in their own life. And there's two outcomes that happen when you start changing your own life. When you start becoming more positive and start achieving more in your life, you're going to find that those people are going to do one of two things. They're going to be drawn towards you because they're going to want to understand what it is you've done. You're going to become a beacon of hope. And you can start inspiring change in those lives based on what you've learned. This is what happened in my own life. I have people in my family that wrote me off as the failure, didn't like me or anything else. They're really good, close people to me right now because I've sat down with them and said, you know, I was this way and these are the changes I made. And if you want, I can help you make some changes here. And their life has never been better as well. The other side is they're going to not want to be around you because you're not matching the vibrational level of their routine anymore. So by natural process, people that want to be negative and want to live in that world are going to walk away. So as they do that, they are going to find somebody else that feeds that need for them to be less than they are. A lot of our ego needs to feel better than somebody else. And if you suddenly are positive and your life is changing, then the world is going to react to that. And your environment around you is going to begin to change. And the more you see it change, the more you can consciously help it change to get to the point that you only have positive influence in your life. And it really is a strategy you need to move forward on, but focus on yourself and your own actions, and those change the dynamic. And as soon as that dynamic changes, everything can be different. So take a good look at it. All right. Let's see. Lots of positive comments. Thank you, guys. These are absolutely amazing. Do I ever come to Phoenix? Actually, I do. I was just in Phoenix in October, and I probably will make it back there sometime this year, but I haven't got it scheduled yet. But if I do, I will let you know. Do you want to drop me an email address? I'll make sure to get it added, and I'll kind of drop you an email. If anybody else got any other questions that they want to answer, I see a bunch on here, but they seem personal in nature, and I actually would prefer probably just to email them back and interact there, because I don't want to put things out that people don't necessarily want told to everybody. So other than that, does anybody have any other further questions they want to type in and hit me with before we bring this to an end? Or it's looking lots. Thank you very much. Marty, thank you for the comment. Lawrence, thank you very much. Oh, Donna, you've got a very good question. What if you have the boot camp already? How can we get the things added? Donna, I've got an email coming to you. The answer is most certainly I'll get you taken care of. So don't worry about that. I'll take care of you. If you've already been through the boot camp, anybody else feels that way, drop me an email on here, let me know, and I'll put it in here. The old portal that you're logging into, we've had so many upgrades to give so many new features that I want to make sure that the experience was better. So we have a new portal that you're going to need to log into, and I'm not going to make you repay for everything. So you're more than happy to migrate more into this stuff here. So we'll take care of you. Okay, so perfect. So if you were in the program before, let me know the email that you used. First of all, the email to contact you, but also the email that you were logging into the other portal there, so that I can make sure to migrate over your profile and get everything set up right. So, all right, thank you guys so very much. That pretty much concludes what we've done. If you do like it, please head over to Facebook and leave a nice little comment in there. That obviously helps spread the word to other people, and that's your first positive act you guys can take, is to go out there and help change the lives of other people. So, like I said, if you want to use the program here, please go look at it. We're more than happy to have you, and I'll help you any way that I possibly can, because you guys mean the world to me. If you don't, there's been plenty of information in here. I ask that you go out, take what you've learned, and just take steps. I self-learned this process myself, and it causes trial and error, but you can get out there, you can make a difference, and this can help improve your life. So, all right, last question, and then I'll call it is. It's from Marty. What is the simple way to rid doubt when it happens? The best advice that I can give you is treat it as a negative thought. A doubt is a negative thought, is a limitation that pops into your head and tries to stop you from going there. I would find something related into what you want to do. If it is at work about getting a promotion, go help a coworker do something. Go take a single action towards the big goal that you want. And what you're going to find when you take 1, 2, or 3 actions, you begin to chisel away at the concreteness of a doubt. So there are ways to help people in every aspect of what we want to accomplish in life. The best way to get is to help somebody else achieve. And it doesn't have to be a one-on-one match. I mean, if you're looking to make $1 million, go help somebody get a job. Go help somebody make a connection. Give somebody that needs $10 to get over a struggle $10. Whatever you can do, do something. And let's do it. So, and as you move forward, you're going to find this is going to spread. If you've read anything, I love the assimilation comment. That's absolutely brilliant. Let's assimilate them all. The reality is that, yes, this is a movement. I found in my own life that all the people in my life have been affected by this. The more people we can get the word out to on this, the more we're going to help. And I would love nothing more. And this isn't a statement of profit for me, and it doesn't have to be my program that does it. If my students go off and change the world, I'm going to feel a fulfillment in a way that I cannot describe, because the world does need to change. You just need to turn on TV. Anybody that lives in the US and turns on any of the politics right now, you see this inside out. We need to change the way we look at the world. We need to change the way that we feel about each other, and we need to start growing positive instead of negative. People are gaining power using negative right now, and it is taking over the world. We can change that by becoming positive in our own life and moving forward. So thank you very much, Emma. That was a great comment. All right, that's it for me. Thank you guys very much. That's the end of the broadcast. If you do happen to want to listen to this again, or you know people that might be interested in listening to this again, I am going to be posting a rebroadcast of this. Feel free to share that with your friends. I realize this is kind of a little inclusive group here, and the special is meant for you guys. But if you have people you want to connect with, please let me know. Also, if you purchase the program and you're going through the program and you want somebody else to join the program, I have a way that I handle that. So drop me an email and let me know that you bought the program and you have some other people that you want to do, and I'll cut the price dramatically to help you get those people on, because I feel like the more you can make this a movement in your own life, the more you're going to have those people achieving great things. And I promise it's not going to be the 97. It's going to be quite a bit cheaper and affordable for you to add several if you wanted to the price. So if you have people that you want to add into this, let me know. Drop me an email. I'll make sure we take care of it. It's a manual process, but I want to make sure you can do the best you can. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate and love all of you, and I can't wait to hear the results. Even if you don't buy the program, you have an email there, right there. If something great happens from what you've learned here, please drop me an email and let me know. I would love nothing more than to hear the story. So thank you very much, and I will talk to you a little bit later.